Hi everyone, welcome back to the kitchen. My name is Erin. Let's make some from scratch tasty mac and cheese. So this recipe is from way back in my childhood. I grew up in Tampa, Florida, and my mom had a coworker who brought this macaroni and cheese to every Thanksgiving meal that the office had, and I loved it when my mom would take us, or sometimes she would bring home leftovers. I wish I could remember the lady's name. She was a hoot. Anyway, so great memories from my mom's working buddies. And so we're gonna make this macaroni and cheese together. I serve this every Thanksgiving. Sometimes I make it at Christmas, and then I always make it at Easter as well. So it is a holiday treat that we look forward to for sure. And let's get started. I've got water boiling on this, or in the process of getting ready to boil. I'm finishing my coffee for the morning. How many of you all get started late with your coffee? I do all the things in the morning. I get ready, I have quiet time, I help Gavin get his stuff ready, I help Maddie get her things ready. She is driving, but we have not yet gotten her a car, and so we share, and I did that as a teenager, and I remember not understanding why I had to do that, but now I understand. And so I had to take her to her dad's work to pick up his car so she could go to school, because I needed my car today. So anyway, it's been a very busy morning, and we are gonna get started on this deliciousness, cheesy deliciousness. I'm actually going to do something a little bit different than what I learned as a teenager, and I will talk about that when we get to that point. So right now you just want to make sure that you have a pot that you can boil your macaroni and cheese. I am only going to do a pound for this recipe, or for this video, but for Thanksgiving and Christmas I usually do, or Easter, I usually do 2 pounds of elbow macaroni. It's not necessarily, just look at the serving size on the package, and then you're just going to double what I do today for a 2 pound, if that makes sense. And it should. You'll see as we go. This is actually a super easy recipe. The only thing that, if you've never made a white sauce before, just follow along. It is not hard. Super easy, and it is worth the extra effort for the creaminess of the macaroni and cheese. All right, let's get started. Okay, I'm kind of moving things out of the way so y'all can see. All right, so my water is good and boiled. I'm gonna actually turn down the temp just a little bit. I'm going to add the pound of macaroni. And it is just the small macaroni. And then I will stir that. And then we're going to add a tablespoon we're gonna add a tablespoon of salt. And then just give that a stir. That is why I let the the water come to a boil before I add the macaroni and the salt. I let it come to a good boil, and then I add the macaroni and salt, so that way the salt immediately gets into that pasta. Dry pasta is hard to season after you pull it out of the boiling water, kind of like a potato. Okay, I've got the pasta boiling, and I started to get the cheeses out, And then what I want to say is it's really important while your pasta is boiling, while the macaroni is boiling, to continue to stir it so that it doesn't stick to the bottom. You don't want it to stick to the bottom. Now, this isn't like spaghetti where we might put some oil on it to keep it from sticking. Once we drain it, if it sticks together, I'm okay with that because we can separate it when we put it in the pan. But while it's boiling, I don't want it to stick to the bottom of the pan. So I constantly go in there and stir. And then when your timer is off, you want to make sure and just test it. You want it to be al dente. You do not want to go more than the 8 minutes because it's going to also bake in the white sauce in the oven. So it's going to get some time to get that soft noodle for macaroni and cheese. Okay, now we're gonna get started on the cheese. I drained the pasta and it's sitting on top of the pot just to make sure all of the liquid comes out of the pasta. So for the cheese, we're gonna do cheddar, sharp. This is sharp cheddar. And then I'm gonna add some goat cheese. I've never done that, but we're gonna try it. And then I had some mild cheddar that I just want to use up. And then I'm going to, for the cheese sauce, we're going to use Parmesan cheese and Gruyère cheese. Now, I try to keep my cheeses grated. So like last week, I did Gruyère in a dish. And so I grated the whole block. And then I've just used it throughout the week. Knowing that I was gonna do this video today, I saved exactly what we needed for the cheese sauce, which is about a half a cup to a cup of cheese. And I've also put in a 1/4 cup of Parmesan. So that makes it about a half a cup to 3/4 cup of cheese total for the white sauce, okay? And then the rest of the cheese is gonna be the cheddar. Now, I use raw organic white cheddar, but you can totally use regular cheddar cheese. There is nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And I will be honest, for my family's Thanksgiving, I will go to the store and get a good quality yellow cheddar cheese just because it's just my family who does the raw organic, and that way no one thinks, what's wrong with this macaroni and cheese? So it is okay to meet your eaters where they are. If they are not fully organic, if they are not doing all of the things, it is okay to meet them so that they still enjoy the meal as well. A lot of people eat first with their eyes, and if it looks different, they're not necessarily willing to try it. And so I have learned that for family gatherings, I just do the regular stuff. So it just makes it enjoyable for everyone. Okay, so I've got that done. I've already have the cheeses grated. So let's get started on the white sauce. And I'm gonna move you over. And on my videos, I keep getting cut off. I'm learning, guys. You have to be patient with me. I promise I'm learning. Okay. So then remember, I said that I was cutting this in half so that I could show you all how to make it. So I'm just using a smaller pot because I do not need the larger pot for the white sauce. If this were Thanksgiving, then I would do the pot that you just saw me cook the macaroni and cheese in. Okay, we're gonna start with just a 1/4 or a half a stick of butter. And then I'm gonna put in a 1/4 cup of flour in here with a half a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of pepper, and let that cook real well. Then I'm going to add 2 cups of milk. Today I am out of our raw milk, and so I'm using oat milk, oatmeal or oat milk. And so I'll pour 2 cups of that in, and then I will show you what we do after that. I'm turning the heat down to medium and just letting that flour cook just a little bit. Then I'm just whisking and getting all of the flour and the milk mixed together, and making sure that there aren't any lumps. The heat is on medium, and I'm gonna tweak it just a little bit to medium high because I do want this to come to a boil. You want your milk to be hot and ready to melt that cheese. Okay, so you'll see that, I hope you can see it, the bubbles are coming up on the side of the pan, and so that's when I start adding just a little bit of the cheese at a time. I do not want to add all of it because it will not melt as smoothly for you, and you could possibly get clumps of cheese. So I just whisk in and make sure that that's good and melted. And then I just put in another little pinch. And then just whisk that together. And it takes just a little bit of time. This is the hardest part of the recipe. But I promise it's worth it. Because because the milk is hot enough, it's melting it pretty quickly. So that takes some time off of you in the kitchen. It's just, I've learned the hard way. It's so tempting to want to just pour in that last bit, and I promise you're gonna get a better result if you just do it a little bit at a time. Also, while you're doing that, you haven't removed it from the heat, so it's also still thickening up. Now, it's not going to be super thick like a gravy, more like a sauce, and then it thickens while it bakes. Okay, so there's the rest of that cheese. So at this time, I just kind of keep whisking just to make sure that I have everything done. And I can feel it with the whisk and the stirring, and you can also see it. Let me put you down. You can see it thickening, not as thin as it was. And then what I always do is I just take the back of my, or I dip a wooden spoon in, and then as long as you run your finger down and it separates, then it's the right consistency. So at that point, you can remove it from the heat. And that just gives that little bit of cheesiness. It's amazing the difference, I promise you. Okay, so what I do is I let this cool just for a little bit while I get the pan and everything ready. And then I taste it to make sure that I don't need to add more salt or pepper, because this is the only seasoning that you're gonna use. So yes, you've seasoned your pasta, but this is the only salt and pepper that you're gonna put in it. So I always want to make sure that this is the right taste. Okay, now I've got everything ready to get the pan started and to get it seasoned and everything ready. I've got the white sauce, the cheese sauce cooling off, and then I've got a pat of butter melting in my little skillet here with a cup of breadcrumbs. Remember the breadcrumbs we used for the Scotch eggs, and I reserved a cup of it? We're gonna use that in this. This is not necessary. You can just do cheese on top and it is gonna be delicious. Because I have these, I'm using them. So I'm just pouring them into my pan with literally just a pat of butter. And then I'm just going to get those coated. And I did not turn the heat on. This is just the residual heat from making the sauce. And then those are ready. So I will set those aside. Okay, now we're gonna talk getting your pan ready. A 9x13 pan, and I'm going to use probably a tablespoon of softened butter. And I always use a baggie to do this. I think it's easier. So then I just do the butter all over the pan. And you're gonna have pieces of butter. You'll have pieces of butter like that, and that's fine. Okay, then you're gonna take let's taste this real quick. I know it's gonna be hot. That's perfect. So the reason why I only do a half a teaspoon of salt is because cheese is naturally salty. So I don't wanna over salt it. And that was perfect. Remember also I forgot to tell you this. It was 3/4 cups of Gruyère and 1/4 a cup of Parmesan, grated Parmesan. So the Parmesan for sure is salty. So you don't want to over salt. But half a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of pepper was perfect. Okay, so then you're going to just ladle in just a little bit. You just want to maybe like 3 ladles just to get a little bit of liquid on the bottom. And then I want to show you the macaroni has cooled. It's still warm, but if you were to try to shake it in the colander, it doesn't shake. So I just kind of, because it's cooled, I just kind of break it apart, okay? And then you're gonna take half of this and put it on top of the sauce that you just did. And you just lay it out in your pan. And I'll put you down so you can see. Okay, and then I'm gonna measure. Okay, so then you're gonna do a cup of your cheese. I just wanted to measure for you so you would know. And I actually would do a cup and a half. Yeah, I would actually do a cup and a half because you want cheesy goodness. Okay. Then you're going to pour okay, so that was half of that mixture. And you'll see that you have some of the sauce pooling, and that's great. You want that. You want that moisture. Then you're going to put the rest of the noodles on the top, and you just kind of spread them out on the top. And then you're going to do the same thing again. Put a cup and a half of cheese. Now, if you were not going to use the breadcrumbs, I would do 2 cups of cheese. But because make sure your noodles are good and portioned. Okay, so, but because I'm doing the breadcrumbs, I'm only going to do 1.5. But if I were doing, if I were not doing it, I would do 2 to 2.5. You want the entire surface covered with cheese. Okay, now this is the part that I'm doing that's new, that I have never done before, but I had this little bit of goat cheese left and I want to use it. So I'm going to use it like little pads of butter, and I'm just going to put it on the top. And just kind of like little things, little bits of butter, but instead it's going to be this goat cheese. And this cheese resembles the Gruyère. So it has a tartness to it that I think goes along well. Okay, then I'm going to just sprinkle these buttered remember, I did not have the heat on that pan. It was just residual heat, so the pan is not hot at all. And I'm just making sure that I cover all the noodles. The goat cheese doesn't necessarily have to be fully covered, but I am wanting to get the whole top. Okay. Okay, I went to put it in the oven and I realized I forgot to pour the rest of the white sauce. So what I'm going to do is just pour it on top. And I still think it's going to be fine. I think it will be fine. I will tell you when it comes out of the oven. For sure though, if you're gonna use breadcrumbs, you wanna put the second half of that sauce on top and then put your breadcrumbs on. But I think everything will be fine doing it that way. So we're gonna put it in a 350-degree oven for 1 hour. Okay, let me talk pans with you. If you're just doing 1 pound of pasta, the 9x13 pan fits it beautifully. If you go above 1 pound, you want to go and get a foil lasagna pan or one of the foil pans that you can get from Costco or Sam's, or even Walmart carries them. When I was a child, the lady that I learned this from, she always bought it in those big foil pans. So anyway, you just want to make sure that your pan is going to fit the amount of pasta that you're doing. So you could do it, you know what, I'm pretty sure that when my grandma would make that hash brown potato at Easter time, I'm pretty sure she did 2 or 3 or 4 9x13 pans. So you could totally do that too. No worries. Just know that your pan's got to fit your pasta with the sauce and the cheese. Okay, now is the moment. We have pulled it out of the oven and I cannot wait to show it to you. It looks so good. Okay, so the goat cheese is so creamy. It stayed in the little clumps, as you can see, it stayed in those clumps. But if you, I'll show you when I go to taste it. When you take your fork, it's kind of a creaminess. So that is perfect. What I also like about this, if you did want to do this, if someone doesn't want the goat cheese, it's very easy to remove or just kind of dish around it. So I won't do it, but I might do it. Okay, I turned you off so that I could get it cooler, and I want you to see that I have a bit of the crust on there, of the crumbs, and then I also have the cheese, the goat cheese as well. So okay, so here's the difference. The pouring the sauce on at the last minute was it didn't mess with the crunchiness of the topping. Totally delicious. Adding the goat cheese changes the flavor completely, but it is delicious. It is not something that I would serve on Thanksgiving. So for doing your Thanksgiving macaroni, do not add the goat cheese unless you just know that every single person in your family loves goat cheese. I also, in doing the goat cheese, I am going to go get some fresh sage and put some fresh sage on top. I think that will complement the goat cheese as well. So those are my thoughts. With this tonight, I'm going to do some grilled chicken with this and green beans or a salad, something easy for tonight. So this will totally go well for just a regular evening special mac and cheese, or unless you know for certain that everyone likes goat cheese, because it does change the flavor for sure. I think that's everything. If you have any questions, leave me questions in the comments. I've been watching and will answer as quickly as possible. If you're new to my kitchen, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button, and we look forward to the next time that we get to cook together. Happy cooking, and we will see you soon.